Hey, this is Ragnon, and these are my thoughts for the changes for 10.2 for both Holy and Disk. I was able to do some testing on the PTR this weekend, here in this second week of testing on Mythic Plus, and overall, my initial thoughts, I really enjoyed both specs. I think they're both in a fairly good spot, and I'm pretty happy with the changes overall. My experience on both of the specs was unfortunately a little bit varied because I was just pugging into groups. I wasn't running with a group I know or anything like that, and the groups were running their keys with different settings and stuff. So honestly, my holy keys were a good bit harder, mainly because we were running them at level 20 on fortified and tyrannical, whereas the group that I was running playing disc was just running them on a straight 20, so no affixes at all. But the main thing I was looking for when I was doing the testing was just the playstyle, seeing how the new tier sets feel, and just the general playstyle as a whole. So going over Holy first, our tier set in 10.2 is honestly fairly boring. It doesn't require a whole lot of extra thought, especially in Mythic Plus. Essentially, it's just giving us extra resets on our holy words, and so the main thing we're going to have to look out for is just making sure that we're using those extra procs and not sitting on 2 charges of holy word. I don't feel like it's going to trigger a whole lot compared to raid, just because there's a whole lot less people that are getting renews on them and stuff compared to, like throwing out a salve or something. I honestly didn't notice the procs a whole lot, and I think the big reason for that is just because of my UI. I wasn't able to import a lot of my settings and stuff, so I was just running with mostly basic Blizzard UI, and so I'm sure they were procking a whole lot more than I noticed, but I didn't ever feel starved for holy words. I like running the Miracle Worker build, and so I did that on PTR as well, and I felt like I had the buttons that I needed to make it through the healing checks and stuff. Most of the problems that I had were either knowledge of these new keys and stuff and mechanics, or technical limitations. We had a bit of crashing and stuff, and team members who were disconnecting, me included, on both disc and holy and stuff. So, but as far as the healing throughput, it felt pretty good. So the tier set is decent. It's a little boring. It's not going to be quite as flashy as our current tier set with all the extra prayer of mendings. But I did have a good experience with it. So overall, I'm pretty happy with Holy. I don't have a whole lot more to say on it, just because it feels largely the same. I think that if you enjoy Holy in its current state on retail and patch 10.1.7, I think you're going to enjoy it just as much next year. If you feel like it's currently weak and not really a viable option, then you're probably going to feel about the same. So I wouldn't rate it much differently than where it currently stands. And I honestly really enjoy playing Holy in its current state in keys. So I'm pretty happy that it's going to be largely staying the same. I would take a neutral change over a bad change any day. So pretty happy with it. Looking at disc, disc definitely felt a lot different than it did than it currently does. The biggest thing that I noticed was the ease of its rotation. It didn't feel like there's nearly as much to do, and I know that that's their goal, but it felt like I had a lot more immediacy, I guess, in my healing. One combo that I really enjoyed was just it feels super powerful to do like a radiance into Mind Bender or Shadow Fiend, and then Mind Blast, just getting your Schism and your Shadow Covenant up, and then hitting it with all your damage abilities. Like it did feel really impactful, and I felt like I could push up the health bars very quickly with that combo. And depending on if you're running Mind Bender or not, you can be doing that every 30 seconds or so. And so that felt really nice. I felt like I had the throughput needed. And even just my basic atonement healing. I've been playing some more disc recently on retail, again, after a while, and it feels sometimes like your atonement, isn't quite doing the work that it should. But here on the PTR, Even just smite spamming felt like it was pushing up the health bars pretty well. So I was really excited about that. Rapture still does feel terrible. I was not very excited on how pushing that button. It felt like I didn't really have any oomph behind my heels with Rapture. So I think that still needs to be adjusted. I did experiment with running both Mindbender and Shadow Fiend, and now after the changes that happened late last week, where they flipped around how the talents are laid out, I felt like Mindbender was honestly overkill. The reset on Shadow Fiend felt like it was up fairly frequently. I didn't time exactly how much CDR tied into it, and I think it was like, I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes per cast of Shadow Fiend and stuff, and so it felt like, honestly, Mindbender was a little bit overkill, and I could throw points into something else. And the extra damage and stuff that Shadow Fiend gives compared to how they have it scaled for Mindbender felt pretty good. I did try some keys with Uppies, the Ultimate Penance new talent that we've got. And after the changes, I didn't try it before. I didn't get a chance to do any testing week 1 before they did the 25% damage and healing buff. But I will say that it felt pretty good to press. It was fairly meaningful. When I used it, the health bars went up. I did a lot of damage. I tried it both offensively and defensively, and both felt comparable in healing. So I think the play is going to be, honestly, to use it offensively so that you can add that extra damage. It felt like that was enough healing. I didn't really need to use it defensively. I was not super impressed with the capstone talent, the one that applies atonement to 10 people and does a burst of healing and stuff. I felt like that was extremely unnecessary in Mythic Plus because the initial heal is probably the main thing, and it was not hitting very hard. So I would not run that talent if you're going to do uppies. And I tried a couple keys where I was just running just the first 2 of that capstone area, and I would just preempt it with a radiance, and that was plenty. So I would recommend doing that. I don't feel like that capstone was super worthwhile. But again, I was very happy with uppies, and it felt very fun and satisfying to press. I tried a couple moments of actually using it to avoid knockbacks and stuff, and that was a cool niche as well. So overall, I was happy with Disc. Again, the thing that I enjoy the most about it is it really did feel a lot more simplified compared to current retail, which I think is going to be good for bringing new people into the spec. Because right now it has a pretty high barrier to entry, but on the PTR it really did feel very smooth, and it does feel like you're spamming smite a whole lot more than you are currently on retail, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think cutting down the button bloat and making your penance and smite hit a whole lot harder and stuff feels very good. So overall, I was very happy with the changes on PTR. I'm going to keep doing testing over the next couple weeks and stuff like that as more and more changes roll out, and I hope to relay back my findings and my opinions on how everything feels. So I hope this was helpful. I'm really looking forward to 10.2. I hope it comes sooner than later, and I'm looking forward to pumping out more content. Thanks for watching. See ya.